Last month, Kash Patel fired roughly a dozen agents and analysts from the FBI's CI-12 unit, a counterintelligence unit dedicated to protecting Americans from foreign espionage. One of the foreign actors that this unit specializes in is Iran and its proxies. According to CNN, this unit was, and I quote, instrumental in tracking potential threats after the first Trump administration killed a top Iranian official in 2020. Just days after Patel fired these agents, President Trump started a war in Iran that has already led to the deaths of at least 13 American service members. If it seems like a bad decision to fire career law enforcement professionals who specialize in defending against Iranian threats just days before we start a war with Iran, that's because it is. And it's even worse when you consider why Patel fired these agents. These agents had been assigned to Jack Smith's investigation into Donald Trump's illegal hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Patel claims that, as part of that investigation, Jack Smith issued grand jury subpoenas for toll records for Patel and for Susie Wiles when they were private citizens. Patel also insists that the FBI recorded one of Wiles's phone calls, which her own attorney has denied. If you ask anyone with law enforcement experience to react to news that the FBI may have sought these toll records, the response is simple. Of course they did. Virtually every investigation involves subpoenas for toll records for any number of reasons. Sometimes it's to construct a timeline of events. Sometimes it's to rule out wrongdoing. Sometimes it's to prepare for a witness interview. Sometimes it's to help understand the scope of a conspiracy. In fact, the first Trump DOJ did the same thing Republicans have criticized Jack Smith for doing, getting the toll records of members of Congress, following the DOJ policies then in place, and getting non-disclosure orders. Here's what Chairman Grassley said at the time. Investigation into members of Congress and staff are nothing new, and the Justice Department has specific procedures for such sensitive investigations. Apparently, when the Trump DOJ does it, it's nothing new. When Jack Smith does it, it's a modern Watergate. With Patel, it's obvious why Jack Smith was looking at him. Patel made himself a fact witness in that investigation. He went on podcasts bragging about how he planned to post classified information online at Donald Trump's direction, and how he'd personally witnessed Donald Trump declassify records. We have known for years that Smith was looking into Patel's role because Smith subpoenaed Patel to testify before a grand jury. Where is Patel's grand jury testimony? Why is that still hidden? The same goes for Ms. Wiles. Wiles is referenced in the indictment against President Trump because Trump showed her classified documents when she didn't have a security clearance. The same month that indictment came out, the PAC Wiles ran received its highest payment ever from the Trump campaign. That's another thing that any investigator worth their salt would take a close look at. The same goes for the rest of the subpoenas my colleagues on the other side want to talk about today. Jack Smith was investigating a massive conspiracy by Trump officials and their allies to overturn an election and attack the Capitol on January 6. Is anyone surprised that he issued subpoenas as part of that investigation? And why? As Smith told the House Judiciary Committee under oath, his investigation, quote, involved interviewing and subpoenaing records of Republicans because that's who Donald Trump sought to prey on to stay in office. Somebody geared up the Republican Attorneys General Association, or RAGA, to sponsor the rally that turned into the riots on January 6 and pay for robocalls, urging people to march to the Capitol building and fight to protect the integrity of our elections. Jeffrey Clark, who worked at DOJ at the time, tried to convince the Department of Justice leadership to send a letter to try to overturn the election results in Georgia. President Trump almost made him acting attorney general because Clark was willing to help Trump try to overturn the election. Pretend for a minute that Jack Smith and all the DOJ and FBI officials who helped his investigation did do something wrong. What would real oversight look like? Well, first, Republicans would accept Jack Smith's offer to testify before this committee under oath, instead of holding a series of hearings on conspiracy theories without anything new to say. Why not call him? Hear it from the man himself. Second, Republicans would let us see Jack Smith's full report on his investigations into President Trump. We only have Volume 1, which explains the subpoenas he issued in the 2020 election interference investigation. We still need Volume 2 on his classified documents crimes investigation. Democrats on this committee have asked DOJ to give us Volume 2, but Republicans have been silent as President Trump and his MAGA DOJ have fought to bury the report. Third, Republicans would oblige Kash Patel to tell us what he told the grand jury in that classified documents investigation. They might also hold Patel accountable for misleading this committee in sworn testimony. I've asked Patel multiple times under oath to describe his testimony to us, as Rule 6E plainly allows. First, he said he couldn't because it was under seal by the Chief Judge for the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Turns out that very Chief Judge later said that nothing was preventing Patel from divulging his testimony to this committee as the rule allows. So that testimony was false. When Patel came back, he told another lie, this time that he had already released the transcript of his testimony. Here's the transcript he might have been talking about. As you can see from reading it, oh, wait a minute, you can't read it because it's almost completely redacted. And it's not even from the right hearing. This is from the time Patel appeared before the grand jury in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents crimes case to assert his Fifth Amendment rights because he was afraid of being prosecuted. The testimony that he actually ended up giving once his Fifth Amendment plea was accepted and he was immunized, we have never seen. If this committee is so interested in Jack Smith's investigation, it should want to know what Patel had to say in that investigation, why he was so afraid to say it, and why he's so afraid to tell us about it now, and instead repeatedly lies to this committee. I'll close by talking about what this hearing should be about. Those counterintelligence agents Kash Patel fired aren't the only career law enforcement officials forced out by this administration, nor are they the only ones purged because they were assigned to investigate President Trump's crimes. Here's what has happened at the FBI since President Trump took office. The FBI has lost at least 300 agents working on national security matters, transferred agents out of the domestic terrorism operations section, disbanded the Foreign Influence Task Force, and instructed joint terrorism task forces to work on immigration cases. At DOJ, more than 6,000 employees have left. The National Security Division has lost up to 1/3 of its leadership, half the line prosecutors in the counterterrorism section, and half the workforce in the counterintelligence section. Attorney General Bondi disbanded DOJ's Task Force Kleptocapture, Kleptocracy Team, and Kleptocracy Asset Recovery Initiative. It is the same story throughout the administration, where conspiracy theories and obsessions with revenge are decimating the career law enforcement who protect us against national security threats. Major cuts at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Laura Loomer forcing out the heads of the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command. DHS gutting its Office to Prevent Domestic Terrorism and putting a 22-year-old with no experience in charge. And cutting the workforce of CISA, which protects us from cyber security threats from bad actors like Iran. Americans are made less safe every time this committee holds a hearing promoting fake outrage about Jack Smith and denigrating FBI and DOJ professionals. Every time MAGA influencers like Laura Loomer convince the president to fire agency heads. And every time Kash Patel fires FBI experts because he wants to distract from his own incompetence, his wasting of taxpayer dollars to fly around the world on a private jet, his partying at the Olympics, or his undermining of the FBI's own investigation. Instead of chasing conspiracy theories down rabbit holes, that's what we should be focused on.
The halls of Congress are trembling under the weight of a blistering indictment that threatens to tear the veil off the highest levels of the American intelligence apparatus. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has just unleashed a scorched-earth testimony that doesn't just challenge the status quo, it incinerates it. At the heart of this firestorm is Kash Patel, the man accused of orchestrating a mass purge of elite FBI counterintelligence units just days before a catastrophic international conflict. This isn't just about politics, it's a terrifying look at the alleged dismantling of the very teams dedicated to protecting Americans from foreign espionage and cyber warfare. The air is thick with accusations of fake outrage, hidden grand jury testimonies, and a systematic revenge campaign that has reportedly left our national security in shambles. As the senator lays out a timeline of fired experts, redacted transcripts, and modern Watergates, the question isn't just who is in control, it's whether anyone is left to man the walls. This is a cold-blooded autopsy of a national security disaster in the making.